Deterrence AI, the leading blog in proactive security.
It seems like every day there's another headline about some new security threat,
Oh,
right?
it really does feel that way.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, are the ways we've been protecting ourselves, are they really enough anymore? I mean,
It's a valid question.
it is, and I think that's why people are tuning in today, right? They want to know what's next. What are those cutting-edge security approaches? And they want to understand it without, drowning in a sea of tech jargon. So
Absolutely.
that's what we're diving into today.
We are. We're going to really dig deep into LoRa technology, specifically how it's being used to enhance security.
Okay, so before we get too far, let's make sure everyone's on the same page. What exactly is LoRa?
LoRa stands for long range. It's a low power, wide area network technology, or LPWAN for short. Basically, it's a way for battery operated devices to communicate wirelessly over really long distances. And the key here is low power.
So that's a big difference from, say, Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, which tend to be pretty power hungry.
Exactly. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are great for short ranges, but they just guzzle energy. LoRa is designed for sending small bits of data over long distances, so it sips power.
Okay, so it sounds like the goal today is to really get into the nitty-gritty of how LoRa is being used to make things more secure.
That's right. We want to look at its advantages, what makes it so unique, and what we can expect in the future.
And the material we've got covers a pretty wide range. We're talking about everything from deterring threats to smart homes, even livestock monitoring. And of course, we have to talk about the cost.
We do, and we'll also look at how artificial intelligence, or AI, is starting to play a role.
Lots to unpack.
There is. What's really fascinating to me is how adaptable LoRa is. It's not just for one specific thing. It's being used across so many different sectors to solve all sorts of security challenges.
It's like a Swiss Army knife of security.
I like that analogy.
So let's start with something that's always top of mind, deterring threats. We're all familiar with the traditional methods like alarms and bright lights, but how does LoRa change the game?
Well, the basic idea behind deterrence is to make a target less appealing to a potential attacker, to increase the perceived risk.
Make them think twice.
Exactly. And LoRa has some very specific characteristics that make it really good at that.
I'm guessing that long range we talked about plays a big role.
It does. Because LoRa can cover such large areas with relatively little infrastructure, you can create these huge security perimeters.
Think like industrial complexes or big farms.
Exactly. Just knowing that there's likely surveillance across such a wide area can be a deterrent in itself.
So it's not just about having cameras everywhere, it's about the potential for surveillance, that uncertainty.
Precisely. It's like an invisible electronic fence that makes any potential target much harder to approach.
And harder to approach means less appealing to a bad actor.
Exactly. And then you add in the low power aspect.
Right, because that means you can put sensors in all sorts of places without needing to run wires for power.
Exactly. You can put sensors in remote locations, hidden spots, places where a potential intruder might not even think to look.
So they never really know what they're walking into.
Right. It creates this layer of uncertainty, a sense of, I might be being watched, even if they can't see any obvious cameras.
That psychological factor can be a powerful deterrent. So it's not just about physical security, it's about the mental game as well.
Absolutely.
Now, when we talk about security with technology like this, we also have to talk about digital security, right?
Of course. It's not just about seeing or sensing what's happening. It's about making sure the data itself is protected.
So what does LoRa do on that front?
Well, LoRaWAN, which is the network protocol that runs on top of the basic LoRa technology, has some really strong security features built right in.
Yeah.
For example, it uses AES encryption, the advanced encryption standard, and increasingly we're seeing a shift to the even stronger 256-bit encryption.
So the data being transmitted is scrambled, basically.
You can think of it that way. It's like a very complex lock that prevents anyone who shouldn't have access from reading the data.
And what about the physical devices themselves? Are they vulnerable to tampering?
Many LoRa devices have tamper protection built in. So if someone tries to physically mess with the sensor, the system will know.
So it's protecting both the data and the devices themselves.
Exactly. On top of that, LoRaWAN uses mutual authentication.
Which means?
It means both the device and the network have to verify each other's identity before they can communicate. It's like a digital handshake. And there's also integrity protection, which makes sure the data hasn't been altered in transit and confidentiality to keep the data private.
Wow, so multiple layers of security.
Right. All these features work together to create a secure and trustworthy foundation for any security application.
So you've got the wide coverage, the hidden sensors, and then this strong digital security backing it all up.
Exactly. It's that layered approach that makes LoRa such a powerful deterrent.
Okay, so it's clear that LoRa can be a real game changer for large-scale security. But what about something closer to home? Like literally, how is LoRa being used in smart home security?
Smart home security is a rapidly growing market, and LoRa is proving to be a great fit for a few key reasons.
I'm thinking most people already have Wi-Fi in their homes. So what does LoRa bring to the table that's different?
For one, LoRa has much better range. Wi-Fi can be spotty, especially in larger homes, or if you have a detached garage or something.
Or like a backyard shed.
Exactly. LoRa can cover that whole area easily. Plus, and this is important, LoRa can work even if your internet goes down.
Which is often when you need security the most, right? Like during a power outage?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Your Wi-Fi might go down, but your LoRa-based security devices could keep working. And of course, there's the low power advantage.
Fewer battery changes. Always a plus.
Definitely. Now, in terms of specific applications, LoRa can do a lot in a smart home. You've got the basics like door and window sensors, motion detectors, even perimeter sensors for your property line.
So all the traditional intrusion detection stuff.
Right. But you can also use LoRa for environmental monitoring, like smoke detectors, gas leak detectors, temperature and humidity sensors. You could even have low-power video surveillance cameras that use LoRa.
It's like having eyes and ears everywhere.
And there are even LoRa-enabled smart locks for remote access control, asset tracking for valuable items, and emergency response devices like panic buttons.
So it's not just about keeping bad guys out. It's about overall safety and peace of mind.
Exactly. And there are already a number of companies out there using LoRaWAN for smart home security. Companies like Yolink, Kangaroo Home Security, SmartHat, Buddy of Parents, or BOP, Linked Home, GAO Tech.
So this is real. It's happening now.
It is. And AI is also starting to make its way into these systems.
You mentioned that earlier. How is AI being used with LoRa in smart homes?
AI can analyze the data from all those LoRa sensors to learn the normal patterns of activity in your home.
Like when doors are usually opened or closed, when there's movement in certain areas.
Right. And then if something out of the ordinary happens, the AI can flag it as a potential threat.
So it's more than just a sensor being triggered. It's about understanding the context.
Exactly. And that helps to reduce false alarms, which can be a real nuisance with traditional security systems.
It's like having a security system that actually learns and adapts to your home. That's pretty cool.
It is.
So we've talked about large-scale security, smart homes. Now let's talk about a very different environment. Agriculture. I mean, how is LoRa being used to secure farms?
Agriculture presents some unique security challenges. You're talking about large, often remote areas with limited infrastructure.
Yeah, running miles of cable for security cameras just isn't feasible in most cases.
Exactly. And that's where LoRa's wide area coverage and low cost come in.
So it's a more practical solution for those vast rural environments.
It is. One of the most impactful applications is using GPS-enabled LoRa trackers on livestock.
To prevent theft.
Yes. Livestock theft is a real problem for farmers, and these trackers can help prevent it. They also make herd management more efficient.
You can see where your animals are at all times.
Exactly. And then you have things like LoRa-connected cameras and motion sensors that can be placed around the farm for surveillance.
So you can keep an eye on things even if you're not physically there.
Right. And you can use LoRa sensors to monitor the perimeter of the property.
To detect intruders.
Exactly. And even track the location and use of valuable farm equipment.
So it's a comprehensive security solution that's tailored to the unique needs of agriculture.
It is. And there are already some great examples of this in action.
Nice like.
Well, there's Goanna Ag and NN Co. in Australia. They're using LoRaWAN for a range of smart agriculture applications. Smart Paddock is using LoRa for GPS ear tags for livestock. FarmX is another company using LoRa for its reliability in harsh environments. And Smart Parks, while they focus on wildlife, their tracking technology could be adapted for livestock as well.
So LoRa is already making a real difference in agricultural security.
It is.
Okay, so we've gone from wide open spaces to individual homes. Now let's talk about smart buildings. How does LoRa play a role in securing those?
Smart buildings have their own set of security needs. Access control, surveillance, making sure people and assets are safe. And LoRa offers some unique advantages here as well.
I'm thinking those thick walls and all the metal in buildings could create problems for wireless signals.
You'd think so, but LoRa signals are actually really good at penetrating buildings. They can reach areas where other wireless signals might struggle, like basements.
Interesting.
And LoRa is very scalable. You can connect a lot of devices throughout a building without overloading the system. And of course, there's the low power advantage, which means you can deploy lots of battery-powered sensors without having to worry about constantly changing them.
So you can have sensors in every nook and cranny.
Exactly. Now, in terms of specific applications, you can have smart access control systems that are managed remotely via LoRa, low-power surveillance cameras, and a whole lot more. LoRaWAN is being used for things like energy monitoring, HVAC management, lighting control, and even occupancy tracking.
Occupancy tracking.
Yeah, knowing where people are in a building can be important for security. Like if there's movement in a restricted area after hours, that could trigger an alert.
That makes sense.
And there are also more direct safety applications like leak detection systems and smart fire prevention systems that use LoRa.
So it's really about creating a more intelligent building environment that's both secure and safe.
That's the goal. And the rise of managed LoRaWAN solutions is making it even easier to implement these systems.
How so?
These managed services take care of the underlying network infrastructure, so building owners don't have to worry about setting it up and maintaining it themselves. They often include built-in encryption, access control, and threat detection.
So it's like a plug-and-play security solution for smart buildings.
You could say that.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about security for large areas, homes, and buildings. Now let's focus specifically on perimeter security. What makes LoRa so good for protecting boundaries?
Perimeter security, especially for large areas like industrial sites or farms, can be very challenging.
Just the sheer size of the perimeter can be daunting.
It can. And traditional methods like fences and guards can be very expensive.
So how does LoRa change the equation?
Well, LoRa's long range means you can cover a vast perimeter with a relatively small number of gateway devices.
Fewer gateways means lower infrastructure costs.
Exactly. And the low power consumption means you can deploy battery-powered sensors along the perimeter without having to run power lines everywhere.
Those sensors can act like a virtual fence.
They can. They can detect movement, unauthorized entry, anything suspicious, and send real-time alerts.
So you can respond to a potential breach much faster.
Right. And there are already some interesting applications out there.
Like what?
Well, there are solar-powered perimeter alert systems that use LoRaWAN and AI to detect things like drones entering restricted airspace. LoRa is also being used for asset tracking, which can help with perimeter security, because if a tracked asset moves outside the designated area, that could indicate a breach.
So it's not just about detecting people, it's about monitoring anything that shouldn't cross that boundary.
That's right. And LoRa's resistance to interference is another big advantage. You don't want your perimeter security system going down because of some random radio noise.
Makes sense. So it's reliable, it's cost-effective, and it's versatile.
It is.
Earlier we talked about the deterrent aspect of LoRa, but what about those next-level deterrent features? What can LoRa do beyond just basic intrusion detection?
Well, as we said, the real-time alerts are a big one. Knowing immediately that there's a breach happening can allow you to disrupt the intruder's plans.
Stopping them before they can do any real damage.
Right. And then there's remote monitoring and control. Security personnel can access LoRa-connected devices from anywhere.
So they can see what's happening and take action even if they're not physically present?
Exactly. They can assess the situation, sound alarms, turn on lights, even lock down certain areas remotely.
It's like having eyes and ears everywhere, plus the ability to act immediately.
And it's also important to be able to integrate LoRa with existing security systems.
So it's not about replacing everything, it's about adding another layer of protection.
Right. You can have LoRa sensors, trigger alarms, activate cameras, lock doors, all sorts of things.
It's about creating a more comprehensive and robust security posture.
Precisely. And AI is playing a big role in enhancing these deterrent features as well.
So how is AI taking LoRa-based deterrence to the next level?
AI can analyze the data from LoRa sensors to not just detect intrusions, but to actually predict them.
Predicts them.
Well, to a certain extent, AI can learn the normal patterns of activity in an environment and then identify subtle anomalies that might indicate a threat is developing.
So it's like having a security guard who's always on the lookout, always analyzing the situation.
You can think of it that way. And some AI systems can even generate automated verbal warnings to deter intruders.
Like a disembodied voice telling them they've been detected.
Exactly. That can be very effective in scaring them off.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the capabilities of LoRa, but what about the cost? How does it stack up against traditional security systems?
This is one of the biggest selling points for LoRa. It can be significantly more cost-effective than traditional wired or cellular-based systems.
In what ways?
Well, for starters, the infrastructure costs are lower because you need fewer gateway devices to cover a large area.
Because of that long range.
Right. And because many LoRa devices are wireless, you don't have to run expensive cables everywhere.
So the initial investment is lower.
It is. And then there are the ongoing costs. LoRa devices use very little power, so battery life is long, which means lower maintenance costs. And because LoRa operates an unlicensed spectrum, there are no monthly fees like you have with cellular.
No subscription fees. That's huge.
It is. And LoRa is very scalable, so you can add more devices to the network without a significant increase in cost.
So it's cost-effective whether you're securing a small home or a large industrial complex.
Exactly. And if you're concerned about managing the network yourself, there are managed LoRaWAN services available.
So you can basically outsource the technical stuff.
That's right. You get all the benefits of LoRa without the headache of managing the network.
Okay, so lower upfront costs, lower ongoing costs, and options for managed services. It sounds like a win-win.
It really does.
You reviewed some information that included a comparison of different wireless technologies. What did that tell us about LoRa's strengths for security?
The comparison highlighted a few key things. LoRa devices are generally affordable, the infrastructure costs are low, and there are no subscription fees if you go with a private network. The power consumption is incredibly low, which means less maintenance. And of course, the long range makes it ideal for things like perimeter security and remote monitoring.
So it's a really compelling package, especially for security applications.
It is.
Now let's look ahead a bit. What does the future hold for LoRa security solutions, especially with all the advancements in AI and other emerging technologies?
The future of LoRa security is very much tied to AI. We've already talked about how AI can help with proactive monitoring and reducing false alarms.
But it can do even more.
Yes.
Yeah.
AI can analyze data from LoRa sensors to identify very subtle patterns and anomalies that might indicate a threat. It's much more nuanced than traditional rule-based systems.
So it can spot things that humans might miss.
Exactly. And AI can automate responses to security events. If a LoRa sensor detects an intrusion, the AI can trigger alarms, activate cameras, alert security personnel, all automatically.
So it's not just about detecting threats, it's about responding to them quickly and effectively.
Right. And there are other emerging trends that will shape the future of LoRa security. For example, there's the potential for integrating LoRa with blockchain technology to enhance data integrity.
Blockchain, that's the technology behind cryptocurrencies, right?
It is, but it has applications beyond just finance. Blockchain can create a secure and tamper-proof record of data, which is very valuable for security systems.
Interesting.
And then there's the development of non-terrestrial networks, or NTN, which use satellites to extend LoRa's coverage to even the most remote areas.
So LoRa can be used literally anywhere on Earth.
That's the goal. And of course, there's ongoing work to enhance the security of LoRa itself with stronger encryption, multi-factor authentication, and secure hardware elements.
So LoRa is evolving constantly, becoming more secure and more versatile.
It is.
But with any technology, there are potential downsides. What are some of the challenges or considerations when implementing LoRa security solutions?
Well, LoRa is a wireless technology, so it can be vulnerable to things like eavesdropping, replay attacks, spoofing, and jamming.
Someone could try to intercept the data or disrupt the signal.
That's right. So strong encryption and secure key management are essential.
So you have to be mindful of those potential vulnerabilities.
Yes. And as AI becomes more integrated into LoRa security systems, we also have to be aware of the possibility of adversarial attacks, specifically targeting the AI components.
So the AI itself could be attacked.
It could. Someone could try to manipulate the data that the AI is using to make decisions, essentially tricking it.
That's a bit unsettling.
It is something to be aware of. And then there's the whole issue of data privacy, which is a huge concern with any technology that collects and analyzes data.
Especially with AI involved.
Exactly. It's vital to ensure that LoRa security solutions are implemented in a way that respects privacy rights.
So it's not just about making things secure, it's about doing it ethically and responsibly.
Absolutely.
As we wrap up, what are some of the bigger trends that you see shaping the future of LoRa security?
I think we'll see a continued focus on security enhancements to the LoRa technology itself and more hybrid connectivity models where LoRa is combined with other wireless technologies to create even more robust solutions.
So not just LoRa on its own, but LoRa as part of a larger ecosystem.
Right. And we'll see more advanced sensors being developed, with AI and machine learning playing an even bigger role in analyzing data and detecting threats.
So LoRa will get smarter, basically.
It will. And we'll see LoRaWAN networks expanding, both public and private networks. And new LPWAN standards might emerge that could work alongside LoRa. And sustainability will be a big factor as well.
Making sure these systems are energy efficient and environmentally friendly.
Exactly.
This has been a fascinating look into the world of LoRa security. It's clear that this technology has the potential to make a real difference in how we protect ourselves and our assets.
It does. It's a powerful tool that can address a wide range of security challenges.
And it seems like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
We are. The future of LoRa security is very bright.
So as you go about your day, think about how LoRa technology could be used to solve security problems in your own life or work, and consider the balance between security and privacy in this increasingly interconnected world. It's a complex issue, but it's one that we need to be thinking about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, stay safe and stay secure.